Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers.
I can't tell you how excited I am to be on right now. It's been a couple of weeks of excitement, getting prepared, and I've done a lot of things in my life, but this has got to be close to the top.
Thank you, Reader's Magnet, and thank you, John, for putting this forth and taking the chance on us authors in presenting this out to the world.
I've enjoyed this immensely, Joanne.
Ellie, so have I. Thank you for who you are, and thank you, Reader's Magnet. You all are beautiful, and you've worked so very hard, and we are blessed.
We are.
I thank everybody that's involved with this process, because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers. We thank Reader's Magnet and everybody that's involved. I love Reader's Magnet. They say, we share your stories with the world.
Hi, everyone. This is Kylan Barron. And thank you to all the participants for coming to the festival show, Storytellers. And I am the moderator for Kenny Harmon, author of Sad Papa's Heritage. All right. And again, I'm Kylan Barron. I'm also the author of Unspoken Truth from a Buried Past. And again, I'd like to thank everybody, including Reader's Magnet and staff, for organizing this event and for the dates of between November 8th through the 21st. Also, I'd like to let the audience know that during this Author of the Hour session, that you can feel free to ask questions to Mr. Harmon, and we will have them answered to the best of our ability. And I'm going to introduce Mr. Harmon, or Kenny, rather, at this time. Kenny Harmon is the author, again, of Sad Papa's Sad Papa's Heritage. I apologize. Okay. Again, feel free to follow up with any questions you may have. Now, Mr. Kenny, I apologize. Let me start out by asking the questions here or rather introducing you as the author. About Kenny, in 2016, his granddaughter Kelsey Harmon posted a photo in a short story on Twitter. Within a few hours of the tweet, it went viral and became known as Sad Papa's Heritage. Now, he was also on national TV several times in numerous local stations from coast to coast. He was also on a national radio program 10 days after the Sad Papa's story began. He had a cookout that actually attracted people from at least 28 states. Wow. How'd that make you feel? There was a lot of hungry people.
Oh, it was amazing. It was one of the greatest days of my life.
Okay. Now, a synopsis of the book is a pioneer history of Mr. Harmon's family in Kentucky, Missouri, Kansas, and Oklahoma.
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to start out, Kenny, with asking you which genre of Sad Papa's heritage, which genre do you feel that would fall under?
Well, it's definitely history. My family was in Kentucky for many years. The book starts out in 1844 when my great great grandparents were dating. And I believe it was in the early 1870s when the first Harmon of that family, of my ancestors, moved westward. And I believe he went into Missouri. And then several years later, my great great grandpa began to have serious health problems. So great great grandpa, also with numerous family members, began the trip westward also. And they did settle in Missouri and Kansas. This was in the late 1870s. And then from there, later on, they went into Oklahoma. But it's pioneer history. And what my ancestors went through was what thousands upon thousands of people went through that were coming west out of Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio. All of them had to go through basically the same trials from day to day.
Wow. Now, knowing this, who do you think Sad Papa's heritage who is your targeted audience for this book?
Well, I think there'll be quite a few people from Oklahoma that would be interested in, because there is quite a bit of Oklahoma history in it. But basically, I would say people from 40, mid 40s, 50 on upward. It's a book for the older folks.
Now I would think it's a book for anyone who has an interest in history.
Well, that's true.
I myself like Western, so and my children do as well. So I've taken them back to the years that I have come up, and the things that in the Westerns that we used to watch on TV. And just speaking to you recently over the past couple of days, or the past day rather, just to hear some of the history and some of the legends that is actually tied to your family is phenomenal.
Yes.
It's absolutely phenomenal. Now, the next question I want to ask is, why did you write this book? And if you can give me at least 3 reasons why you wrote the book, or give the audience. You're on a national platform here. Let the audience know what was in your heart and why you wrote the book.
Well, I was first contacted about maybe a month after the Sad Papa story hit social media. I was contacted by a writer from Pittsburgh, Charlotte Hopkins, and Charlotte told me if I ever wanted to do a book, she'd be interested in helping me. And immediately I thought about just what you were saying about some of the legends that were being told about my family. My daddy told me some stuff about my great grandpa, and I knew there were some interesting characters in my family, and I was interested, as a lot of people are, where were they before you were in Kansas? Where were they before you came to Oklahoma or Texas? Where were your people before that? So I was interested in that type of thing. And after thinking about it for a while, I got back in touch with Charlotte, and we began the project. But it's history. I've always been a big fan of history in some form or another. And once I started getting into the book, I found out that at least two of my cousins had been researching our family for more than 20 years.
Wow.
So we had some excellent photos and some stories that were added by relatives. So it's just pioneer history, and whoever's interested in pioneer history, you watch the old Daniel Boone movies and things like that. That's Davy Crockett movies. Well, I know that's movies and TV, but a lot of that stuff was close to actually the way it was. And I know a lot of people are interested, just like you said, in the old westerns.
Okay, so what was the impact of writing the book for you, and what was the impact to your loved ones as well?
They were very excited about it, and my immediate family was very excited. They were all excited when the first book came out. We went to a nice restaurant in Norman, Oklahoma, and had a book party. The immediate family was very excited about it, and then all my cousins that were involved with the book, they of course were excited and wanted a copy as soon as they could get it.
Okay.
And it was very good. It was very good for me. I saw photos that I would never have seen again. I mean, that I would never have seen, and stories that I would never have heard if we had got all the kin folks together and put these ideas together, and photos and all that. So it was very, very good.
Okay. All right. And the impact on your family was pretty positive, would you
Yeah,
say? Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay. All
We're
right.
talking about the grandkids back then. They were mostly teenagers 5 years ago, and you know how teenagers are. There was two or three of them that's really interested in our heritage, and a couple of them, not so much. They'd rather do a video game or something.
I believe that at some point they'll come back around and say, hey, we want to know more about, the family and the background and the heritage. And
Yeah.
right now they're doing their thing. I understand how teenagers are. I had a couple of them myself. Wow. But eventually they'll come back around because then they have their families, and people are very interested in knowing who they are and what their heritage is, what their bloodline is. And that's very important.
The book will mean a lot more as time goes on.
Oh, yes, most definitely. Now, the next question I have for you, and I'm sorry because it's dark here where I'm at, and the font on the questions that are being asked is kind of small. So bear with me, Kenny, and bear with me, audience here. So, what would you like your readers? What would you like your readers to feel after reading Papaw's Heritage? I'd like you to indicate give me at least 5 emotions that you would see your readers taking away from reading this book.
Well, I think the educational aspect of it is probably the most significant. And there is also drama, some humor, but you don't find a lot of humor as you're traveling across the country like they were back in those days. The kids are kids; they're going to have fun no matter where. But for adults, it's a lot different.
Absolutely.
But it's there is drama, and the interest, I believe, would be one of the main things. Just being interested in pioneer history, how America was in the 1800s, and moving into the early 1900s. So those are the main things.
Okay. And Kenny, can you tell us a story about the first time you decided to jot down notes for Papaw's heritage, and when did you decide to do it, and how did you feel at the time you began to come up with your ideas and jot down your notes as far as writing your book is concerned regarding Sad Papa's Tale heritage? And I don't know why I keep saying tale. I need to get used to saying heritage, but Sad Papa's heritage,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Well, there's a lot of tales to be told. I'm going to hold up the book, see if I can get this. I'm trying to work. It's like trying to work in a mirror, and I know the glare is kind of
I
bad.
can see it. I can see it. I'm
Let
I'm
me-
I'm sure that the audience can see it as well.
That is a photo of Babe Harmon, my grandpa, in that's one of the photos he took when he was in boot camp for World War One, and that's one of the first photos that I found when I went down to my dad's house and began looking through the old photos. That's one of the first photos I found, and so that was very exciting. I knew that he was in World War One, but I had never seen any of the photos. So as I began to look through there, I found more and more photos, and I began to question my dad. My dad passed away last year. He was 91. He was a great source of history for our family. And I'm glad I talked to him as much. If it hadn't been for the book, there had been things that I wouldn't know.
Hmm.
But I learned several things the last few years when we were doing the book, and I'd go down and talk to Daddy every couple of weeks, and so and nearly every time I talked to him, I'd find out something new. And he told me some stories about my great grandpa that were really interesting. So it was really a good time, really a good time going back and listening to Daddy and going through those photos and starting to put the book together, working with my writer, and it's actually probably three of my cousins that were also helping with the book. It's very interesting, very interesting.
And how did that process make you feel?
Well, it was very satisfying. It was very satisfying. I was glad that I was finding out things that if it hadn't been for the book, I wouldn't have known. So it was a very satisfying feeling.
And it's amazing that you were able to get such detailed information prior to, unfortunately, losing your loved one, losing your father. And without that information, where would you see yourself with Sad Papa's heritage? You probably wouldn't have the detail, which is phenomenal because it took off out of the gate. And I saw a question last night while watching you during your virtual booth is why was sad Papa sad? Okay, so you got a lot of interest in your story coming through the gate, which is awesome because a lot of writers don't get that. So you had a wonderful, phenomenal story, especially, when you're growing up during the 50s and 60s, like I did. I enjoyed as a little girl watching Westerns. And again, we just reiterating some of the legends that are tied to your family is beyond phenomenal. And yes, you have given the world and the libraries and so many such insight on who you are and your background and your family. I just think that's awesome. But with that being said, um, what would you like your readers to take away from reading your series? You have Sad Papa's Heritage, and you have two other books that's coming that just lines up with that. Tell us about that.
Well, let me show the second book. This is This is the second book. Sad
The
fact,
early years.
the
Okay.
early years. That's me on the cover, 1952, 2 years old. The first two books do go pretty much hand in hand. They kind of go from the beginning, 1844, when my great great grandparents were dating, and the second book goes up into the 60s. So there's over 100 years, 125 years of history that we touch on. And the second book is a lot more about me than my family. I had, well, I remember one lady especially when I was telling her about the first book. She says, "Well, that's interesting about your family and the pioneer stuff, but I want the book that talks about you." So I knew I needed to continue with the second book about my childhood. So the second book, a lot of that is about my childhood, and just like you said a minute ago, being raised in the 50s and 60s. It's hard for these kids nowadays to realize how it really was back then.
Yeah, it wasn't their time yet, but
So
you know,
much different. But the people that are nostalgic about the 50s and 60s, and the ones that want to know more about the 50s and 60s, I'm sure that my books are going to have some things in there that the people didn't know. I know there's experts that know just about everything about those days, but I thought I knew a lot about the 50s and 60s, and I learned things that I didn't know when I started doing research, especially for the second and the third books.
hmm okay. Well, when is their time? Who knows? Your book may very much wind up on the list of must reads, summer reads for a lot of the high schools, as far as the history is concerned. I wouldn't be surprised. And you know what? Being in the field that I'm in, I might look up and see it. I go, "Hey, I remember that gentleman. I know who wrote that book. What
Mhm.
an awesome guy." Okay, that's what's up. That's I can't say it any clearer than that.
Well, you mentioned the schools. I had some plans uh, to visit at least one school last year, but of course, 2020 was a year like no other
Yes, yes,
because of COVID and all that. So my plans for 2020 were kind of just like everybody else, kind of turned upside down. There's
yeah.
very few book signings, and I was planned on making a little trip about 30 miles west of here to speak to a superintendent at a school in a little town where my great great grandmother is buried.
hmm
I haven't done that yet, but just like you mentioned the schools, that made me think about this book is good for some of the schools in Oklahoma because there's quite a bit of Oklahoma history. And
Well, from what I'm reading, I think it should be a national must read summer read list, and it would be something I would push for. I think it's very interesting, especially with the ties you have to the legends that you and I have spoken about. Is this it definitely has what I believe, that wow factor.
yeah,
Okay.
I know my writer, she commented a couple of times about what she was learning that she never knew. She was, like I said, she was from Pittsburgh and knew very little about Oklahoma. So she got a pretty good education when we were going through this,
I did too.
and she liked it.
Did. I actually, wow. And just to have that kind of connection with you, it just listening to you tell me that your background, your stories, your family history was just absolutely amazing. It's like one of those fireside chats, and you're sitting there like this. Wow. You know, give me more. That's what I got from it. That's what I got from it. I was very, very impressed. Kenny, what do you think differentiates Sad Papa's heritage from other books in this genre, and in the genre and category, in this particular genre and category? What differentiates this book?
Well, I think one of the unique things about it, it is family history. And I know a lot of people write about their family history, but this begins 1844 and continues for 125 years. I don't think there's too many authors that run that length of time with their family. So I think that's very interesting. As people would kind of see where we started in Kentucky, and then there was some time in Missouri, and there was some of the Harmons were in Rock, Kansas for a while. That's not too far from Wichita. That's where great grandpa was buried. He intended to, well, he probably would have wound up in Oklahoma also, but he had some serious health problems. I think he died before he was 60 years old. He didn't
Wow.
live to be an old man. But we go. That's a lot of history from 1840s up to the 1970s. That's a lot of history.
An awful lot of history. I agree. I absolutely.
So I think that's a bit unique for the books.
Okay. Okay. Now, is your book advocating for a specific cause or agenda? And if so, which is it, or what is it? And what is what is the importance for you? What is the importance for you as an author while advocating for a specific cause rather?
Well, my agenda is history. I believe people should be more interested in history. Now, you choose your history, whether it's the Civil War, whether it's World War I, whether it's the sports world, whatever. People need to have something in history and study it. Great Depression, that's a major event. And that's my thing, is just trying to get people interested in history.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, this is Kenny Harmon, author of The Hour, author of Sad Papa's Heritage. It is part of a series. You can find his books on Amazon.com, Barnes and Noble, and Kenny also has a website. Is it? Help me out, Kenny. I'm losing it a little bit here. Is it Sad Papa's Heritage?
No, sadpapasbooks.com.
Sadpapasbooks.com. Okay.
I believe Reader's Magnet is still working on that on the website.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I believe it'll be next month before that's up and running. The thing about getting a book through my website is the books all go through my hands. I touch all the books.
Okay.
I sign the books, put the books in the envelopes, and so on and so forth. So if the books are ordered from me, they'll be signed.
So if what you're saying is, if they're ordering from, let's say, Amazon or Barnes and Noble or Reader's Magnet or some other entity online, they'll get their copies, but they won't have their copies personally autographed by you. You personally will make sure that the individual ordering directly from you will have a personalized signed copy from Kenny Harmon.
That's right.
Okay.
And we're going to have it to where if they can send me an email, and I will sign the book by request.
Okay.
If someone wants it to go to John, to Sam, we're going to provide my email so people can get in touch with me and tell me exactly how they want the book signed. But all the books will be signed Kenny Sad Papaw Harmon, just like it's on the screen.
When can I get my autographed copy of Kenny Sad Papaw's Harmon, Sad Papaw's Heritage from you? I want my copy.
All I need is your address, and it'll be in the mail before you know it.
Oh, absolutely. Nothing but a word, because we're going to make this happen. Okay. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, fairgoers, this again is Mr. Kenny Harmon, author of Sad Papaw's Heritage. You definitely, it's a must read. Definitely must read. Kenny, let me say this. You have been more than stellar in answering a lot of the questions that I have. And I did see you during your booth last night. I think you did an awesome job. I watched you very closely. Okay.
That makes me nervous. That makes me nervous when I know that people are watching me very closely.
I didn't see that. I saw a very confident writer.
Oh, you wasn't doing the microscope thing.
I saw a very confident author and writer. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're there and you hear me, definitely feel free to write in and ask Mr. Harmon any questions you may have. They're definitely welcome. And Kenny, if you wouldn't mind, in the past conversation that we've had, I would love for you to go a little bit more, without giving away too much detailed information on Sad Papaw's Heritage. Give the audience a little bit more, just to whet their palate a little bit, to say, look, I know the book is a must read. We know the book is a must read. You know it, but give us just a little bit more juicier content on this.
Okay. This is in the second book. I'll tell you a little story that's in the second book. I think I told you about this yesterday. There was a Saturday morning in September or October of '65. I woke up to a commotion on the front porch. We had a couple of puppies on the front porch, and they were just going crazy. In a few minutes, my mother came to my bedroom and said, "Kenny, there's a skunk on the front porch attacking the puppies." So I got out of bed. I knew exactly, just as soon as she said that, I knew what the deal was, because skunks are nocturnal. If you see a skunk in the daytime, stay away from it, because something is wrong. Well, that skunk did wind up. We had it tested, and I went outside with a shotgun and went one-on-one. I went one-on-one with a rabid skunk.
Oh.
Yeah, just jump out of bed and throw some clothes on and out the door with a shotgun. 15 years old. So that's just
where did mom stay? Behind the door while you scuffled a little bit with the rabbit skunk?
Well, I think she was making sure that my sisters didn't go outside.
I would have been on the roof.
I'm sure she was concerned, but fortunately, I kept my wits about me. I learned how to use a gun when I was very young, so he really wasn't much of a match for me in that shotgun.
Okay. And speaking with you a little bit more, you gave me a little bit of feed on something I know everyone out there has heard of this name. Tell me a little bit about Daniel Boone.
Well, I wish I had found out about this sooner. This is not in the books. One of my cousins discovered, I guess it was about maybe 2 years ago. One of my cousins, the one that I call the guru of the family on the ancestry. She told me that one of the Harmons I don't know if he was in the direct lineage of my great great or whether he was a cousin, but there was a Harmon in Kentucky that was a close friend of Daniel Boone. And if there's a book 4, that will be in there. I was kind of amazed at that, but where the Harmons were was just a few miles. It makes sense because where the Harmons were around the Williamsburg, Kentucky area, not far from there is the Daniel Boone National Forest. It's ever in that area. If you're going up or down I-75 in Kentucky, it's just north of the Tennessee-Kentucky line. They need to make a little time and go to the Daniel Boone National Forest.
Absolutely. You know, I've been to a lot of states, but I've not been to Kentucky, and I know I'm not that far from it. But that is definitely one of my on my bucket list. I must do. So, pardon me.
It's a beautiful state, and the Daniel Boone National Forest is beautiful.
Okay.
The only thing wrong is when I arrived there, I got there in let's see, I think it was September of 2018. I went back there for a book signing and to see some of the Harmons and some of the Creekmores. My great grandma was a Creekmore. It had rained 5 days before I arrived. That was the only bad thing. The Cumberland River was out of its banks when I went into the Daniel Boone National Forest.
Okay. All right.
I drove in the rain all the way from, I think just after I got into Arkansas, all the way for 2 days. Drove in the rain.
Woo.
Other than that,
I don't want to drive in the rain for 5 minutes, let alone 2 days. So I can't imagine that.
Good trip. Kentucky.
Okay.
Kentucky State.
Okay. All right. Okay. Again, ladies and gentlemen, I am speaking with Kenny Harmon, author of Sad Papa's Heritage. And you can find his books on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. Also, you can also reach out to find his books on the website, sadpapawsbooks.com. And if you're getting them directly from Kenny Harmon himself, you will get a personalized autographed copy of Sad Papaw's Heritage. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenny Harmon. Kenny, we have a few more minutes left in the session as author of the hour. Would you like to sum up Sad Papaw's Heritage and if you'd like, the other 2 books that are in the series as well?
Yes. I showed the first 2 books. I'll show the third one also. Those were the days. That's me and a 1965 Chevy Impala. Best looking car I ever owned.
Those were the days. Trust me,
yes,
I miss those days.
That was the holidays of '67 when that photo was taken.
And very good looking too, I must say.
Thank you. Me or the car? Both. Yeah, that was a beautiful car, and I think I'd only had it about a month when that photo was taken. That was during the holidays of '67. This third book is more diversified. We still got some of the Sad Papaw stories in there, and there's some interesting things about my great grandpa that are in the book, but it's more diversified. The third book has got quite a bit of stuff about the 50s and 60s, the movies, the TV shows. There's even a chapter about the history of drag racing. I was a big drag racing nut. I think we can get this up here where I can show. There might be some viewers that remember Jungle Jim Lieberman or Bruce Larson or
That's
Bill,
history.
Bill Grumpy Jenkins.
Wow.
Those were all professional drag racers, and they put on quite a show, especially that Jungle Jim. I'll tell you a story about Jungle Jim. His name was Lieberman. He was from Pennsylvania. He was quite a character. Before they, of course, you couldn't do it nowadays. They wouldn't let you do it. But he would, before the races, they would warm their tires up for better traction. They do something called a burnout. They smoke their rear tires. Well, Jungle Jim, he would smoke his tires out there a little ways, and he would back up to the starting line at 100 miles per hour.
Okay.
In reverse. Of course, the crowd loved that stuff, but it was dangerous, and they shouldn't have been doing that. But back then, they got away with that kind of stuff. I've been to drag races. I went to a big race in Texas in '69, and the fans were just 60, 70 feet from the cars on the starting line. And these are cars of 1,400 horsepower. Dangerous, but that's the way we did it. Okay, looks like we got a question. Why do you call yourself Sad Papaw? That was a nickname that I received. You can see the photo right here. That's the photo that my granddaughter, Kelsey Harmon, put on Twitter March 16th, 2016. And she told a little story about she felt sorry for her papaw because I'd cooked a dozen burgers. Only one grandkid showed up, and that's the photo she put on Twitter. And a few days later, I got the nickname of Sad Papaw.
Oh.
So anybody that's not familiar with the Sad Papaw story, please Google Sad Papaw. 2 words, it'll come up, Sad Papaw, and read about it. And there's quite a bit written in 2 of the books about the things that were going on. Some interesting things. Is your cap a merchant on sale? Well, I did have some caps. I haven't ordered any lately. This style with the camouflage and the red, white, and blue, it's my favorite cap. But I do plan on getting some more caps. But the thing about trying to sell caps is you can only do it in person, because I found out that the cost of postage is ridiculous. You just can't, because you got to put the cap in a cardboard box, and the cost of postage. I quickly found out, I ordered quite a few hats, and I quickly found out that wasn't a good thing.
And I'm thinking that they're also asking, do you have any additional merchandise besides the caps, or in addition to the caps for sale regarding Sad Papaw?
Let's look at this shirt.
There we go. Okay.
Sad Papaw.
The man, the myth. I can't see the burger. I love it. The man, the myth, the burger. Okay.
Yeah. I think that's I had I think 3 different types of designs, 3 different designs, and that seemed to be the favorite.
Okay. I want one of those T-shirts with my personalized signed copy of Sad Papaw's Heritage.
Now those shirts are hard to. I had quite a few people at the cookout want me to sign their shirts, and I'd try to sign it up on the shoulder, and that's a hard thing to do.
That is very
right on the shirt with a black magic marker.
It's very intriguing. The man, the myth, the burger. I love it. I love it. Well, now we again are speaking with Mr. Harmon and Kenny
We got
Harmon. Pardon me. We got another question here.
Yeah, we got another question.
How does the pandemic affect your I guess they're talking to both of us. So,
Yeah.
go ahead, Kenny. You can answer that.
Well, for me, other than just the trauma of having to watch what was going on and how it was hurting so many people and making them sick and all that, I live in Oklahoma, and we were not shut down for very long. I believe it was only 2 months, something like that, where we had the lockdowns. So in Oklahoma, we were not affected nearly as much as a lot of other people. So I know.
For myself, well, the pandemic, is like that domino effect. So everyone was affected by it. I had to buckle down and do things that I normally wouldn't do, like write a book or complete writing a book, but I did. And, you know, it can't be over quick enough for me. I'm sure for dozens of other people, but we have measures out there that will protect our communities and our loved ones. So again, I can't say or encourage enough people to take those measures and do the right thing, and and stay with us, stick around. I'd love to hear back from you. That's what I have to say about that. And unfortunately, I unfortunately wasn't one of the 28 states that came to have a burger with Mr. Kenny Harmon here on Sad Papa. And again, what an interesting read it is. So, fair participants, you get an opportunity. Definitely take the time and go on to Amazon.com and Barnes and Noble, or go to Mr. Harmon's sadpapawsbooks.com and order a copy or the trilogy of Sad Papaw. You can't go wrong with that. Not sure about the hats or any other marketing materials or merchandise that he may have. I'm certainly sure that you would be able to reach out to Mr. Harmon via his email and find that out yourself. But in the meantime, definitely get this read. The trilogy, the books at Papaw's Heritage is definitely a must read. With that, I want to thank the fair participants for coming together and showing up and supporting Mr. Harmon's book as well, and being part of the festival of storytellers. What an amazing event! And I'm hoping everyone took something from it and learned a lot from it and met a lot of wonderful authors and writers that we otherwise would not have met or known. Reader's Magnet is at the top of the game. Again, have put so many authors on the map otherwise who wouldn't have been put on that map. So thank you again, Reader's Magnet. I thank you again, Mr. Harmon, for allowing me to take this time to speak with you again and introduce you to the world. All right, you've been on quite a platform here. What a wonderful ride you've been on. I have too. I have to say that. And what a pleasure. What an absolute pleasure. You've taught me so much that I otherwise would not have known. And I appreciate you for that. I want to know, do you have any? Thank you. Do you have any closing thoughts or closing words for the participants at the fair here? And if so, the stage is yours.
Well, we got, let's see, you mentioned that you might be writing book 4. Can you give us a clue as to what it might be about? Well, if I do a book 4, it's going to be pretty much a sequel of book number 3. 1 and 2 are pretty much sequels. If I do a book number 4, it'll it'll be pretty much a sequel of Those Were the Days. I'm going to do some more stuff about World War II, more things about the 50s and 60s, the music, movies, different things. I've got quite a bit of the material gathered to get started, but it's a question. I've got to find a writer and just get in the right gear, you might say, to get started. But I hope there is a book for it. If there is, it's going to be it'll be a sequel to book number 3. I'm going to do some more stuff about the family also. Well, I don't have a cookbook. I will say this, there's some recipes from the 1800s in book number 1, the Heritage book. There's some recipes from Kentucky. I should have taken time today to go in here and find one of those recipes like this right here. I don't know which one that is. You probably can't see it on the screen, even if I could get it on the screen. I know for some folks it's like watching comedy theater or something.
Well, let me ask you this now.
This is apple nut cake, delicious.
Was that a dessert at the cookout? Was that a dessert part of the participating meals along with the burger?
No, my writer found four apple nut cake.
Wow.
These were recipes from Kentucky, 1800s.
Wow.
My writer discovered those. That was an apple nut cake. My great grandpa, he liked chess pie, Chess. That was one of the things that my dad told me. But I don't have a recipe book. I cook a pretty mean burger and steaks, but I'm not really a chef.
I think we're quite aware of that by now. The man, the myth, the burger. You can't go wrong with that. But what I want to know is the recipes. Do you know if anyone have used or utilized those recipes during this time?
Well, I've told people what the secret is in my burgers. We've got somebody on there. I've always wanted to try those burgers. Well, we try to have a cookout every year. You might watch on Facebook. I usually put it on Facebook. We try to have a cookout each year. When I say the burger, if you'll see right here in the photo in my hand behind me, that's what I mean by the burger. That I can't do this anyway. In that photo right above my head,
I see.
That's the burger in my hand. That was the burger.
That was the burger.
Yes. For that last question, we do try to have a cookout every year. Of course, there was COVID last year. This year we had a cookout for the homeless in Oklahoma City. That was a very good event.
Is that an organization in Oklahoma City that you're advocating for through Sad Papaw?
Well, I attend a church that has it's called Crosslight Ministries, and I advise people to go on Facebook and watch Crosslight Ministries. But Crosslight Ministries deals with the homeless quite a bit in the Oklahoma City area. I'll tell you the secret to my burgers. Someone's asking about the burger being unique. It's the seasoning.
Okay.
There is a seasoning that is made in Oklahoma, Ponca City, Oklahoma. I'm going to give this man a little shout out here. Paul, I can't remember his last name, in Ponca City, Oklahoma, Ponca, Ponca City, Oklahoma. Head Country Seasoning. Head Country Seasoning. You can go online and order that seasoning. It is wonderful. Paul sent me about 40 pounds
Wow.
of seasoning before
Wow.
the quick cookout. I had Head Country Seasoning for over 2 years. That's how much Head Country Seasoning Paul sent me.
Wow. That was a lot of burgers.
And the really good thing about thank you very much, Michael. Thank you very much. Now I'm hungry too.
Me too.
Yeah, me too. That Head Country is good on roast, pork chops, steak, burgers. I even put on some of the vegetables I cook.
Okay.
So
That's a lot of seasoning for a lot of burgers. I'm
yeah,
hungry. I want that burger now.
he sent me a big box, and we had plenty of seasoning for 2 years.
Oh
But
wow.
that's the secret.
Where
You
was I?
don't want to cook them too hot. Don't use too much heat.
Okay.
You cook the burgers on the grills. Don't burn them up.
Do you plan on having another cookout event that would possibly help those who are less fortunate with a meal, like the homeless? Is that something that you would advocate for? Because if so, I would make it my mission to come to Oklahoma, meet you personally, just to get one of those burgers and to help your cause. How about that?
That sounds great. Yes, I think we will probably try to do another cookout next year for the homeless.
Awesome. I think that's wonderful.
We had a
It's wonderful.
young man that owned a lot up there, and the lot was just the perfect size for a cookout like that. And if he'll let us use that lot again, we'll probably have another. This year it was on May 1st, and we try to have it during the time of the year when it's before it gets hot, and of course when it's after it warms up some.
Well, Kenny, we're about to wrap up at this time, but you put that together, and yours truly will be there to assist you. How about that?
That would be
Okay.
great.
How about that? I would look forward to that. So if that's something you want to do, I'm all in. I'm all in. Okay. Look, Kenny, everybody, Kenny Harmon, author of Sad Papa's Heritage. What a pleasure it was to absolutely sit here and speak with you. What a wonderful author of the hour. I wish you the very best. Again, ladies and gentlemen, check Kenny Harmon's books out at sadpapasbooks.com. You can order his book from Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and from Kenny Harmon himself, where you will get an a personalized autograph copy without the hat of Sad Papa's Heritage. All right, everyone, thank you for coming to the Festival Fair of Storytellers, and have an awesome evening. Kenny, good night. Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you, everyone, for joining in.